Welcome back into my little Aladdin's cave, and this is my new PhD -30 1000 fill beautiful glorious sleeping bag. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't go anywhere near 100. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't go anywhere near -30 with a -30 sleeping bag. I'm a cold sleeper, plus I also need lots of room because I get very claustrophobic. So I always go for a wide sleeping bag so I've got room to maneuver inside. And obviously with that you're going to get, you know, naturally a few air pockets in there, but you do get a nice neck baffle which you can sort of snug up around your neck, or what I tend to do in camp is snug it around my midriff if necessary, so that it kind of shuts the air off, you know, getting in, you know, into the bag itself. So that's really useful
for sitting up and eating in camp.
This bag is just under 1.3 kilograms, and it worked out. They're not the cheapest. It did cost me 2 arms and 2 legs. I'm a bit like that Monty Python soldier thing, and it works out at about £1 a gram. Yeah, they're very expensive, but you know, very beautifully made. But what I really did want to discuss in this video is the outer. Now, I've noticed that most sleeping bags for cold weather now,
all weather I think,
tend to come with either a waterproof outer, a windproof outer, or a water resistant outer. When I started out camping and I was designing my own bags using the design your own feature on PhD,
obviously a wind resistant outer is very similar, if not the same, as a water resistant outer, because a water resistant outer probably has a membrane.
I asked around a couple of people back then, not Chris Townsend, and I was just curious, do people go for non-water resistant outers or water resistant outers? And a couple of people that I chatted to said go for water resistant outers. So in my -21 bag, I went for a dry shell, which is probably loosely equivalent to windstopper or something like that, very loosely equivalent to that. And in my -5 bag, I also went for the dry shell outer. But interestingly, when I sort of designed my own 4-degree bag, I went for the MX fabric, which is basically just a nylon, you know, just a tightly woven nylon fabric that obviously down can't get through. And in my more recent bags, I've gone for the lighter weight material, which again is basically a tightly woven nylon, stops the down getting out. It's not waterproof, not water resistant. And personally, I've never once missed not having a water resistant proof outer on these bags in the summer, autumn, spring months when it's quite moist. My winter bags, I have the dry shell equivalent windstopper, equivalent water resistant outer, and I've I've never really understood why it was suggested, you know, that I have it. Like I said, it was just a couple of people who, you know, would do outside stuff. And I kind of went with that advice 12 years ago. And I've never really understood the necessity of it. I've never once thought, oh, I'm really glad I've got a water resistant outer on it. One time, the only time, in my -5 bag, I was on Dartmoor. I had a tarp, not even a tent, it was a tarp in a lean-to configuration, and it got absolutely soaked with condensation on the inside, or the underside, and it got very breezy. And I will admit, on that one occasion, raindrops, basically condensation drops, rained down on this and did get this quite damp. Obviously, because I'm not an early riser, by the time I started moving around, I don't know, about 10 o'clock in the morning or something, it was completely bone dry. But it felt very, very wet. Now, whether a non-water resistant outer, you know, would have let more in, it felt quite damp. And obviously, a water resistant outer, whether it's wind stopper, wind whatever, still has stitch lines on it. So all those stitch lines are going to let water through. So even if you have a water resistant outer, if it's stitched, and obviously it's not taped on the inside, which most I'm assuming won't be, water will still get through. So once again, I really still don't fully understand why some people, you know, prefer that. You know, it's just something I've never once thought I need to have that. This brings me on to this beauty here. When I was looking into getting a cold weather sleeping bag, obviously most manufacturers now appear to be putting, and they probably have been maybe since like Gore-Tex came out and Windstopper and shells and things like that, I kind of get the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm a little bit of an outlier here, but I kind of get the impression that it's a little bit of marketing. Ours is water resistant, ours is waterproof, therefore you should buy ours. And it seems like they're all that. So maybe it's not marketing, and maybe there is something to it. Comment below. I've just never missed it. So what is everyone else doing that needs it, that I'm not, for 12, 14 years of camping? With my winter bag, I wanted to go as light and breathable as possible. Now, all the winter bags, as I say, now appear to have wind resistant outers, or waterproof or wind resistant. And the argument seems to be that they are breathable to allow moisture out, and obviously presumably to stop moisture getting in. But if you're camping in -15, -20, -5, bearing in mind I've not camped in those cold conditions, you know, I've camped in -5, -7 a handful of times. We just don't get the really cold weather down south.
It's probably more than a dozen times. Every cold camp is on my channel.
But my mind is saying that when it's very, very cold, you're not going to get water so much dripping down on you. Also, I've never had water dripping down on me in all my time of camping. So I didn't want a water resistant outer. So I went for the MX outer. I could have gone for the M7 outer, which is this one here, which is very light. And they do an M10, which is this blue. So I put the M10 light material on the inside. Also, because it's blue, I can find things. Because the one thing with MX is only in black. You can't get this material in any other colour. Black, and that's it. So I must admit, it's quite nice to have, you know, a different lighter colour for the inside. And this blue material is a couple of grams lighter than the black material, which itself is lighter than, fractionally lighter than a waterproof material or water resistant material. But my point is, and this is what I don't get, is I have heard people say that a water resistant outer is very breathable and therefore lets the moisture, because most of the moisture that's going to be in the sleeping bag is going to be what's coming out from us. And there will be a bit in the air, but probably not a huge amount. Maybe a lot, but well, 100% sometimes. If you're in, if it's high humidity, then yes, there's 100% humidity. So anyway, carrying on. But the point is that the more breathable the outer is, even more breathable than a water resistant outer, surely logically, moisture that we give off will escape the bag quicker than a water resistant outer. A comment below on that one. And obviously I've heard some people say that the idea of the water resistant outer is to allow for the breathability, but if you've got a water resistant outer, surely that will slow, and to stop it all freezing and everything, because you don't want ice forming on you down and things like that. But surely if you've got a water resistant outer, the moisture that's trying to escape will escape more slowly than a non-water resistant outer, and therefore there's less chance of it freezing in the down. Does that make sense? Sometimes I'm not very good at expressing or explaining myself, but I think you kind of get where I'm trying to go with that. The more breathable it is, like a lightweight nylon shell, the moisture will get out quicker and have less chance of freezing inside the down than a water resistant outer. That's my logic. That's how I'm thinking it. Obviously, there are two other things that you could do. You know, obviously you can get your waterproof, water resistant covers if that's what you prefer, and most seem to be going that way now from what I can tell. Obviously, if you want to, and what I will try, just for the sheer fun of it, when I do my Norway trip, I will take one of my MLD synthetic quilts, and obviously you can put a synthetic cover over your sleeping bag, and obviously that is very breathable, helps to draw the water out more, and if there is any water that's going to get trapped, it gets trapped in the synthetic, not in the down. Obviously the other thing is, if it's dry and sunny, get your sleeping bag and air it outside. I think I heard Chris Townsend say that, you know, even if it's very cold but sunny, you know, you can air a sleeping bag quite nicely you know, on the outside, you know, to dry it off. And of course the other thing that you could do if you've got a sleeping bag cover, this is a PhD sleeping bag cover, but if you've got a sleeping bag cover and there was water somehow in your tent, you know, just put that over your quilt, over your sleeping bag. Realistically, we probably should be taking some sort of bivvy sleeping bag cover anyway. So if your sleeping bag's already got a water resistant outer and you're then adding a bivvy over the top of that, you're kind of doubling up your water resistance and less ability for water to get through. It's just how my mind is thinking this. So I've got a water resistant cover, so I could put that over as well if, you know, if necessary. So that's just, you know, that's just a few thoughts on this. Obviously this sleeping bag, so I designed this myself. I've done a video on it. You can, you know, you can watch the video.
The off-the-shelf PhD bags only have a left-hand short zip, which I don't want.
I've gone for a short zip. Personally, I don't like and I don't trust long zips. I've tried them. I did a design your own. I spent too much money on bloody sleeping bags. I just found that even with the baffle, that cold air gets on the inside of the zip, and then obviously it can get through the baffle a bit, maybe not much, but I know it, to me a little bit of cold air, even if it's this side of the baffle. I don't want it inside the sleeping bag, even if it's this side of the baffle, you know, under the zip. I mean, I just found that I was getting quite cold spots there, bearing in mind that obviously it's a very large sleeping bag, so, you know, I need as much insulation as I possibly can. So obviously by just having a short zip at the top, double baffled, that reduces the amount of air getting through, and then obviously the rest of the down here where there's no zip, you know, is now baffled with, you know, nice big chunky baffles with down in there. So that keeps me, and that will keep me nice and cozy, hopefully. But yeah, this is it's a very nice bag. I've gone for obviously a bungee thing on the bit that goes around your body, just for a little bit of flexibility, and then the one on the outside, that's you know, a cord. But yeah, so that's just a few thoughts on sleeping bags and outer materials. And like I said, I'm specifically thinking about cold weather, undercover, you know. I just don't see how you're going to get damp on the outside of a sleeping bag in a tent in -20. And if you do, you know, put a synthetic quilt over, or put a sleeping bag cover on, or just, you know, air it before you set off. I'd personally rather have the ability that there's more chance of the moisture getting out through a nylon material, you know, than getting trapped under there, you know, with a water resistant, because to my mind the water resistant material is to stop moisture getting in, and my mind is thinking that we probably give off more moisture than is going to be trying to get in. So I'm kind of sort of reverse psychology that maybe there's probably more to get out than is ever likely to get in, and anything that does get in will get pushed out more efficiently because you've got sewn through seams anyway where moisture could get through. And also bear in mind that this is a tightly woven nylon. It's obviously not waterproof, it's not water resistant, but it is still a tightly woven nylon to keep the down in. So because it's so tightly woven, I can't realistically see that very much moisture is going to get through a tightly woven nylon. We will see how we get on. We're only going to be camping obviously for well, I hope a minimum of 3 nights in Norway. And then the other nights obviously I'll be in the hotel thing. But you know, we'll kind of see how it all goes. Check out the other videos I have on my trip, and the planning and the logistics and everything else. And I did a live stream on it where we go through all the logistics of choosing things and how I found where I'm going and everything. So you know, do check that out. But yeah, this is a lot. I do love puffing. Oh, there's so much down. There is lots of down in there. There is a baffle that runs all the way down so that the down is kept, so that all the down that is this side is kept this side, and all the down that's this side is kept that side. So there's some sort of sewn thing that goes through there that keeps top and bottom you know, separate. And yeah, that's my sleeping bag. So we'll look forward to using that. Anyway, I've wasted enough of your time just to waffle on about outers of sleeping bags for too long, but thanks very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.